I'm Alex Michelson. This week on The Issue Is, a new candidate in the race for governor. Republican Steve Hilton announces that he is running. He's with us in our studio. Plus, journalist Amie Parnes talks about joining Governor Gavin Newsom on his podcast and her latest New York Times best-selling book. And our most frequent analyst, Brian Goldsmith, announces he's running for office for the first time. The Issue Is starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, you're watching The Issue Is.
It's time to end the years of Democrat failure. It's time for a new future. That's why I'm running for governor. To make this beautiful state that we love so much truly golden again.
That is Republican Steve Hilton announcing his run for California governor this week. He also held a big launch event in Huntington Beach. Steve Hilton, welcome back to The Issue Is. Congrats on the run.
Thank
First
you.
time on this show as a candidate.
I know. We've been talking over the years, Alex, and it's wonderful to be here.
Yeah. Not a huge surprise. You've been hinting at this for a long time, but congrats on the run. But ultimately, why did you decide to do this?
I love California so much. We've been here since 2012, moved here from England with my family. I've had the opportunity to do amazing things in this state, live the California dream. But now you look at what's happened. We've got the highest unemployment in the country for much of last year, the highest rate of poverty, the worst business climate. People are really struggling. And so over the years, I've been getting involved in those issues. I've been traveling the state for 2 years now, talking to people and families and business owners, just hearing how desperate they are for change. As that process went on, it seemed to me that I didn't just want to talk about it, I actually want to do something about it to save California, to restore the California dream and make this state golden again.
So can you tell us a little bit about your background, something you talk about in your campaign commercial?
Yes.
You grew up in the UK. You worked, you said, for David Cameron, the Prime Minister there. Tell us a little bit about you.
So I've got the accent still, people can see. I'm working on that.
Yeah.
But the most important thing people need to understand, I'm a proud American and a proud Californian too. My parents, though, are Hungarian. And that's a really important part of my makeup, if you like, because they fled communism in Hungary. They went in search of freedom and ended up in England, and that's where I was born, in a free country. But that was the 1970s in England. It was in a country in real decline with many of the same kinds of problems that we see here in California. And my earliest political memory was Margaret Thatcher. And she really fought back for freedom and restored the spirit of enterprise in the UK and really got things going. And to me, that's a real inspiration.
So you know the reality that no Republican has won statewide since 2006. That was Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was the most famous guy in the world and married to a Kennedy Democrat.
That's not me.
So how do you actually do this? How does a Republican win in a state when there's 25% more Democrats registered here?
So I don't actually see it as a partisan thing. As I said at my event in Huntington Beach, this is not red or blue, it's golden. Well, we've got to focus on...
You said that, but then you also had a whole lot of real red people there. I mean, you've got Charlie Kirk, you've got Vivek Ramaswamy, you've got Kevin Kiley, you've got John Voight. I mean, these are Trump, MAGA people. Everybody there wearing the Trump hats. I mean, this did not feel like a lot of blue in this event.
But I've been on the road and speaking to Democrats and Republicans alike and independents. Remember, that's a really big group here in California. I think there's an opportunity for a credible candidate who puts forward common sense, practical ideas that aren't ideological. I think there's a real market for that.
Have you asked President Trump for his endorsement?
I have not, and I'm very focused on California, not federal politics, because we've got a lot of problems here. Let's really get to work putting together a movement for change so we can deal with the housing crisis. We have the highest housing costs in the country. We've got to do something about that.
If he endorsed you, though, you would accept it, right?
Oh, I'd be totally proud to accept the endorsement of anyone who is not just a leader in the Republican Party, but president of our great country. I mean, that would be a great honor.
You talked about, during your launch campaign, watching our show.
Yes.
And you saw our interview with Javier Becerra.
Yes. Elex Michelson asked this new candidate.
And I talked to him about changes for housing affordability.
Yes.
I don't think you were impressed by his answer.
You scrub it, and then whatever is left, whatever's clean and survives, that's what you do.
Well, I think it's astonishing. He just talked basically gibberish. You can't do that. This is serious. This is, as you mentioned, leadership of the 5th largest economy in the world.
What's the number one thing you would do when it comes to affordability in this state to make things cheaper for
The
people?
number one thing, the first part of my plan, Great Jobs, is to take everyone who's earning $100,000 or less out of state income tax. That's the first step. Secondly, for businesses who are struggling under this incredible burden of regulation, we've got to go back to basics, sunset all our regulations. So we ask ourselves, do we need any of this stuff that's clogging up businesses? People may say that's difficult to achieve. Idaho did it. When they did it, they cut their regulations by 95%. On housing, we've got to get away from this situation where we have the highest housing costs in the country. There are specific things we can do there. We've got to cap hidden housing taxes. They're called impact fees. We need to cap them. We need to end the anti-housing lawsuits that stop housing being built. We need to stop the regulations that make it so expensive to build.
So we see, though, we have a deficit this year. If you take all those people out of the tax system, how do you make up the revenue?
Well, we need to cut spending. The budget of the state of California has doubled in the last 10 years.
So what do you cut?
Even after inflation, it's gone up by 50%. Massive bloat in our state government. That's where you've got to start. Look at the salaries people are paid here in Los Angeles. The empty reservoir lady, right? $750,000.
The head of the LADWP.
The DWP.
Quinones.
There's been an enormous inflation in what government costs. You look at homelessness, where spending's gone up billions and billions of dollars, but the problem's got worse. So don't tell me that we can't get the budget back to a reasonable size. This is totally reasonable and practical, and I'm going to get it done.
To do that, though, you may have to defeat Kamala Harris, who is considering running for governor, also considering running for president. You had very strong words about her during your rally this week. What is your basic thought about Kamala Harris and her decision now to potentially enter the governor's race?
So the sad thing for me, watching how she's approaching this, all of the things that are being said about why she might run for California governor are not about us or these problems that you and I have been talking about, how to fix the housing crisis or help small business or help our farmers, nothing to do with that. It's all about herself. It's about the fact that she doesn't want her last act in public life to be certifying Donald Trump's presidential election victory, or that she wants to be, she's intrigued, that was the word used, that she's intrigued by being the first female black governor of a state. Now, they may or may not be things that matter to Kamala Harris, but that doesn't matter at all to anyone watching tonight who's struggling to pay the bills. We need a governor who actually understands the real lives of Californians and how they're struggling and suffering, and has got concrete plans to do something about it. I haven't seen a sign of that from Kamala Harris.
So we like to end things with something fun here on this show to get to know you. This is our personal issues game. 30 seconds, your cultural favorites. First thing that comes to mind. Steve Hilton, what's your favorite recent TV show that you've seen?
I've actually watched it twice as real light relief from all of this. 4 seasons, called My Agent.
Okay.
So this is a show about a talent. It's a little bit obscure, I know.
Okay.
It's a talent agency in Paris. It's incredibly funny and brilliant, and I love Paris. So it's a beautiful combination of many things.
What's your favorite band or musician?
There's so many. I love music. My mum was on a video today, and she reminded me, I'd forgotten that when I was a teenager, my goal in life was to be a DJ.
Right.
So it's very difficult to choose. I love Radiohead, I love the Beatles, I love dance music. I go to Glastonbury as often as I can. It's very difficult to pick one band.
Whatever happened to the DJ thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe if this doesn't work out, Alex, that's where I'm stuck with.
see you mixing some music. Well, thank you for coming on. We got queued up one of your songs.
Okay.
So this is Let the Sunshine In.
Okay,
from
very
your
good.
launch
Yeah.
event. We saw you dancing to this.
Oh dear. Well, it's a little,
Yeah. As we make California golden again.
That's the plan.
Which is your new slogan. Thanks so much, Steve. Great to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks, Alex.
Appreciate it. The latest guest on Gavin Newsom's podcast is our next guest as well. Amie Parnes is co-author of the best-selling new book, Fight, Inside the Wildest Battle for the White House. It's the 3rd straight best-selling book for Parnes, a reporter with The Hill, and Alan, a reporter with NBC News. I love this book. You got to read it. Joining us now from San Francisco is Amie Parnes. Amie, welcome to The Issue Is for the very first time.
Thank you, Alex. It's nice to be here.
So you were a guest on Governor Newsom's podcast. What was that like?
Pretty wild, just in terms of someone else asking me the questions. Someone like him, someone I'm used to interviewing him, and I think it was fascinating to hear him kind of remark about how accurate our reporting was, based on everything he knew.
I mean, your reporting gets into a lot of, dirt and sort of backstabbing in the Democratic Party. What does it say that Newsom would want to highlight that book?
I think he clearly he read it because he was ready to talk about the minutia of our book.
Yeah, and you interviewed Governor Newsom for The Hill, and he had some pretty strong takes on where the Democratic Party is. What were your main takeaways from that conversation?
I mean, the big thing is that he feels like the party is still trying to figure out where it is, who it is essentially leaderless, rudderless, and doesn't really have an identity right now. And that was really interesting to me because this is someone obviously who is a top contender in 2028. He said that the party should be doing a really intensive forensic on what went wrong. He says that the party isn't doing that right now. He hasn't been included in that process, which is also pretty amazing and stunning to me, considering that a lot of people look to him as the future of the party. But, one of the things that he's trying right now, this podcast, and he wants to invite people like Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk on, and he acknowledged this is sort of kicking the tires on that and trying to do a listening tour and see what other people on the other side are offering.
And he acknowledged in your interview that a lot of people on his side are not liking that.
He said that it's bumpier than he thought it would be, but he also feels the need to not just speak to the chorus and preach to the choir.
So in Fight, you report on the governor's maneuvers when it looked like President Biden might not be the nominee. So what was he doing privately while telling all of us publicly that he had sub-zero interest in ever being president or even thinking about being president? What was he actually doing?
I mean, I think he was also kind of in listening mode and trying to see where people were. I think he was probably curious about people who, like Nancy Pelosi, like Barack Obama, who didn't think that Kamala Harris could win, and they were kind of testing the idea of an open primary. Of course, I think he denies all of this publicly, but I think, he's a politician and you're running until you're not running. And I think that he was curious about where things were going.
All right. So your book is really like a great political TV show. It takes you inside the room where it happens. To me, there's been like 3 great political TV shows of our lifetime. There's The West Wing, an idealistic show where the main characters are mostly good. There's House of Cards, a mostly cynical show where the main characters are mostly smart, scheming, corrupt, and a bit soulless. And then there's Veep, a comedy where most of the main characters are bumbling, foolish, and overall incompetent. So which one of these 3 is closest to the truth?
That's a really good question. I've always felt like there's a combination of all of them. That's very realistic. I think House of Cards, it's sinister, but I've seen elements of that. I've seen elements of Veep, and of course West Wing. But what's interesting and what we've heard about from readers reading our book is that they think that it does incorporate all of these things. It's interesting that you name all of those shows because I thought about all of them as we were writing this book.
That's interesting. Well, we end with something fun on this show called Personal Issues. This is 30 seconds of your cultural favorites. Just like Gavin Newsom, I'm turning the tables on you. And so this is what comes to mind, quick answers. So here we go. Amie Parnes, what is your favorite political TV show?
Veep.
Favorite movie?
When Harry Met Sally.
Favorite sports team?
The Dolphins, Miami.
Favorite band or musician?
Oh my gosh, so many, but the Beatles.
What's your favorite meal?
Oh my gosh. My mom cooks a killer Iranian dish.
Okay. And who is your role model?
model is my son
Who is with you right now, right?
with me right now.
And why is he your role model?
He teaches me things every day, things that blow my mind. And, it's so counterintuitive, but I learn from him every single day of my life.
Does he want to make a cameo?
Yes, he would love to make a cameo. Come over here.
There he
This
is.
is Remy, my role model.
Oh, that is so sweet. Remy, you want to say something nice about your mom?
I like that she's been writing 4 books,
Okay. Very
and
nice.
2 of them got #1 New York Times bestseller.
Yeah, including this one. #1 New York Times bestseller, Fight. Congratulations. Enjoy your time in our golden state of California. Amie Parnes
Oh.
and Remy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Up next, our most frequent analyst announces that he is running for office himself. Stay with us.
I'm Brian Goldsmith. Earlier today, I filed the papers to run for the California State Senate. I've never held elective office. I really never thought I'd run for anything. But these are extraordinary times.
That is Brian Goldsmith announcing his run to replace the term-limited Ben Allen in California's Senate. Senate District 24 stretches all the way from Agora Hills down to Rancho Palos Verdes out to West Hollywood. You likely recognize Brian's face if you regularly watch our show. He is our most frequent analyst in our show's 7-year history, having appeared in over 30 episodes of The Issue Is, but never as a candidate before. Brian, welcome back to The Issue Is, and congrats on the run.
You can see how I've aged over 7 years.
Why are you doing this?
Because I think we're at an inflection point, not just in Washington, but in California. Obviously in DC, Donald Trump is trying to blow up our economy and our government. But in Sacramento, the status quo just isn't working. And I felt that it was time for lots of people, including me, to step up and do something bigger, something larger that could have a more direct impact on crime and homelessness, economic opportunity and affordability, the issues that I hear about all the time.
So what specifically would you do differently in Sacramento? And with that, how would you basically stand up to the Democratic status quo?
Well, I think every legislator brings his own perspective, and mine is we've got to spend our money efficiently and effectively. You've got Elon Musk with his chainsaw, trying to kind of blow up government, but then you have a lot of people who've just accepted for too long the way things are, where we've spent, $20 billion on homelessness without meaningfully improving the situation, wasted $20 billion on EDD fraud, driven a bunch of programs that aren't producing results. And so my perspective is going to be to look at everything fresh, and what's working, you double down on it. What isn't working, you get rid of.
So if affordability is the biggest issue for people, how do we make life cheaper?
Well, we've got to make it easier to build here. We've got to make it easier to operate a small business here. We've got to make it easier for people to buy the everyday necessities. That means fighting the Trump administration on tariffs, which will raise the price of everything. But it also means here at home, simplifying processes, lowering fees, to think of citizens a little less like subjects and a little more like customers. We're the technology capital of the world. We should be using AI to drive better customer service. We should be results and outcome oriented, not as process driven.
What's it like doing this on this side? I mean, you've come here, you talk so much about everybody else. It's easy to talk about everybody else. What's it like now being the guy yourself after telling everybody all the advice for all these years?
Well, I mean, it's a little different. It's a little bit like the lawyer representing himself, with a fool for a client. But, there are parts of it I really like, getting the chance to dig in and think about policy. There are parts of it I like less. Asking all my friends for money is a new feeling.
Seems
and
awful.
Not a great one.
Yeah.
But, I think it is kind of nice to be on my own 2 feet, to be independent, and to tell people what I really believe.
And are some of the people you used to give advice to now giving you advice?
Yes,
Some
of course.
Candidates? And what are people telling you?
Well, plastic surgery, you've got a face for podcasting. People are giving me all sorts of advice. But I've been around this business long enough, both as a journalist and advising other Democrats, to kind of know that authenticity is really the coin of the realm. I've got to be who I am, and I've got to do this my own way.
Part of that is answering honestly when we do personal issues on this show, which I know you've seen many, many times over the years. So now it's your turn to do the hot questions. Brian Goldsmith, what's your favorite TV show?
Succession.
Great. Favorite movie?
The Godfather.
Great choice. Favorite band or musician?
Recently, Taylor Swift.
Really?
An original, yeah. My daughter's got, I have an 8-year-old daughter. She's gotten me really into it.
Okay. Favorite sports team?
Dodgers, of course.
Favorite Taylor Swift song?
Oh my God, that's a tough one. A lot to choose from.
Cruel Summer. Okay.
Yeah.
Who is your role model?
My role model. In a lot of ways, my grandfather. He came to LA in 1952 from Chicago, woke up to a sunny day, it was 70 degrees, and thought he had arrived in paradise. And he had lost a lot of family in Europe in the Holocaust. His parents were immigrants, and he built an extraordinary career.
What do you think he would think of you potentially being in the state Senate?
What are you, crazy? No, I think he'd like it.
Congratulations on the run.
Thank you.
We're proud of you. I know we don't get to endorse candidates here, but we endorse all you've done for our show over the years and your great kindness and professionalism.
Thank you, my friend. And what you've done for the state in providing a forum for this kind of political conversation is critically important, so thank you too.
Look at him, already learning how to suck up as a politician.
I've been sucking up to you for years.
I know,
for years.
True. All right, Brian, thanks so much. We'll wrap things up for the week right after this. Thanks so much for watching The Issue Is. A reminder to stream The Issue Is podcast for extended versions of all this week's conversations. See you next week.